Hello everyone and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I will be giving you my Epsom Derby and Epsom Oaks preview for tomorrow. I'll be giving you my final selections, nailing my colours to the mast, and hopefully we can have some success in those races. Had some good success before in recent years. I put up Forever Together when she won the Epsom Oaks. I think I got 7-1 about her on the day. I told you that Saxon Warrior wouldn't finish in the first three, and he finished in 4th place. So it's a race that I have fond memories of over the years. Manuela de Vega was my Oaks pick last year. She did claim the extra place. But yeah, it's a race that lots of people are going to have different opinions on, and this year the picture looks so murky. But I'll be giving you my thoughts and feelings on some of the key protagonists and what I'm going to go with in the big races. So before I get into that, I'll just quickly do the recap like I usually do, and just a quick reminder as well, if you want to be part of that Telegram group that I created just over a week ago, or that I'm working alongside with, called the Tipping Line. Just pretty much a community of punters really that are just racing fanatics. We've got over 100 people on there now, talking all things racing, you know, sharing what they think's going to happen on the race course, putting up some of their bets and selections. If you want to be part of it, just click the link below. No strings attached. You just have to download the app, and then once you've done that, you can be part of the group and chat to a like-minded community. I'm sure a lot of you watching this video are racing fanatics, and even I pop up on there from time to time, giving you my thoughts and feelings and having a bit of chat with you guys. So yeah, if you want to be part of that, just click the link below and it'll take you straight to the group. But before we get into it as well, like I said, the Epsom Derby and Oaks preview, just do a quick recap on today's selections. Now I'm recording this just before 7 o'clock, and it's been a fantastic day. We've had 3 winners and the dirty each way that was neither up or down. We got level stakes back with that 5-1. But our first winner of the day was Pass Fact for Liam Canary and Malcolm Saunders at Chepstow. Just got up on the line, showed a bit of ability last time out, showed that maybe he was about to come and win a race again, and he obliged. So that was a nice winner there to kick things off at 9-2. Zip was put up at Haydock as my second tip of the day. That one at 9-2, so that was a good one there. At Hamilton, Hugo Gregory ran okay, finished in 4th place, just ran outside the frame. Probably maybe the race was just a little bit too competitive for him, but he tried his best, you know. And yeah, that was the only disappointment of the day. But then our next best at Hamilton, Le Chiffre, we put him up at 11-8, small drift out to 6-4 in places. That was the final SP, and he did really well, I thought, to defy top weight. So nice winner there. And then at the current time of recording, we still got the lay of the day to go, and also as well the Nap, which runs in the finale at Wolverhampton. So fingers crossed we can have some more winners tonight. But we'll get straight into the business end of things now. And we're going to start with my first tip of the day at Haydock in the 12:30 with a horse called Royal Context. Currently, you can back it at 4-1 with bookmakers. Just going to recommend the win-only bet for Paul Mulroney and Michael Dodds. Now, this horse finished second at Haydock last time, and for that effort was actually raised £5 by the handicapper, which you don't normally see too often, a horse that finishes second getting raised that amount in the weights. But the form has worked out really well, because the 3rd place horse for William Haggis, Dancing in the Street, finished in 3rd place in the Palace of Holyrood handicap at Royal Ascot, behind the likes of Art Power and Keep Busy. So that's definitely a form boost. And also as well, Garsman for the horse watchers, trained by the Appleby team, Michael Appleby. He went and won a couple of races. He went and won at Newmarket, and then he might have won again, but he did win from that race. So yeah, he's boosted that form line. And even though, yes, this horse is off a mark of 85 tomorrow, I think it's definitely actually better than its mark. And it was a warm race last time out. I think this is a little bit weaker than the first time out at Haydock. And if it can replicate that performance, I think at 4-1, that represents good value. And I think this horse will go really close to winning that race at Haydock. So that's going to be my first tip of the day. We'll get straight into the Epsom Oaks now. Nothing I fancy before that. It starts at 3:40 tomorrow. A race, like I said, that's been good to me down in the years. And we're actually going to have Loader's Lay and Loader's Nap in this race. So my lay, we'll get it out of the way first, is Love for Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien. I think this horse is far too short in the betting. If you want to ask my opinion, you can currently lay it on the Betfair exchange for around about 2.4 at the current time of recording. I've seen out there. Now, even though this horse did win the 1,000 guineas, I'm not sure the form amounts up to much. Cloak of Spirits and Quadrilateral didn't do the form any favours in the Coronation Stakes, even though, yes, they did run okay. They weren't brilliant. But I would have liked to have seen them give Alpine Star more of a race, you know. But Alpine Star, to be fair to her, is a very excited man. She's going to be running in the Prix Diane this weekend, taking on Peaceful, who I think should be running in this race. But never mind. Yeah, I just don't think the 1,000 guineas form is that good. The only horse that has boosted the form was Under the Stars. But I think actually a lot of horses that were running in that race were actually sprinters. They're more 6-7 furlong horses, and a lot of them just didn't stay home. And that's why you have the likes of Rumsey, that probably wants a bit further in time, finishing in 5th place, because all the other lot were just tired, because they just didn't stay. And I just think Love was the only convincing miler, or the one that could maybe stay a little bit further. But even though she obviously won a classic, you can't dismiss that out of hand. But I'm just a bit concerned about her going up in trip by half a mile tomorrow. It could be a shock to the system. I think sometimes we get carried away with these horses that don't have any experience over the longer trips, that we just assume that they're going to get it. And I can see us falling into this trap here. Ryan Moore as well. He doesn't always pick the best horses in these big classic races. I did a stat on the podcast that I did yesterday called In the Saddle. You can check it out on my Twitter feed. The links are there to it. I said that Ryan Moore, out of the last 10 UK classic winners Aidan O'Brien's had, he's won on 4 of them, which sounds good, a 40% strike rate. But the majority of them came in 2017 when he was winning on the likes of Capri. He was winning on the likes of Churchill. He hasn't won the Derby since 2013. I think Ruler of the World was his last winner. So he's not got a knack for winning these races at the moment, you know, and it's normally the 2nd or 3rd string. But I don't think those horses like Estimon, which I know some people are putting up, and Passion, I don't think they're that strong. And I'm just not convinced Love is going to be as an effective tool over a mile and a half. And this is why I'm going into my nap. Frankly, Darling, I was really, really impressed by her win in the Riddlesdale for Frankie Dettori and John Gosden. And you can currently back her at 2-1 at the current time of recording. Now, this horse is unbeaten so far in 2020, won a really good race for the grade anyway, I thought, at Newcastle, destroyed and blitzed the field, and then won the Ribblesdale okay, in an okay field, I should say. I don't think those in behind were that good, even though Estimon obviously is going to be reopposing, and Passion that are going to be giving her a rematch tomorrow. I just don't think they're going to overturn the form. And the fact that Frankly Darling was very keen, I'll urge anyone to go back and watch that replay, when she was just so keen in the early stages. And I originally thought at the time she was going to be beat. I was actually against her before the Guineas, because I was just thinking that, is she really going to kick on that quickly? But boy, she did. And I just think her experience over this trip is going to hold her in good stead. John Gosden's got a great record in this race. He's won it. He's won 2 of the last 3 renewals, when he won it in 2017 with Enable. Then he won it last year with Annapurna. So he definitely does well in this race. And I do think it is a match between Frankly Darling and Love. I can't see any of the others getting involved. I think it's actually a weak Oaks. I think some of the horses like Alpine Star and possibly Peaceful, they should be running here, not over in France. That's just my own personal opinion. I don't think it's the greatest one, but if there is a star in this field, I do think it's Frankly Darling, and I think she'll come forward even more from that run at Royal Ascot last time. And I just think tomorrow, she's the solid candidate. I think Love, yes, you can't knock her on the fact that she's a classic winner and she should get the trip, but I'm just really not convinced by that form whatsoever, even though she did destroy them. And I just think at the prices, she's a little bit too short. And I think there could be a drift for her tomorrow as well. I think maybe Frankly Darling and Love could reverse roles. I could see maybe Frankly Darling going off maybe 11-8, 5-4 possibly, whereas Love I could see maybe drifting out to 2-1. Who knows? But I think it's going to be a fascinating race, and I'm looking forward to watching it, even though I did say it is a bit of below par edition. It's still always going to be a good race in normally because it's a Group 1, but it's not as exciting in the last couple of renewals where we've had some really top class fillies. But yeah, Frankly Darling is going to be my nap of the day. We then go to Haydock, so this is going to be in between the Derby and the Oaks. We're going Haydock here with my next best, and it runs in the 425 with a horse called Archmoon for Callum Rodriguez and Michael Dodds. Now this horse, I was really impressed when he won at Haydock over a mile. He was well fancied in the market that day. He went off favourite at 5-2, and he was pretty prominent throughout. And he suggested that he was going to get further in time. He wasn't stopping at the line, and that was on his handicap debut. And I still think he has a lot more to offer off his current mark. And even though there has been some rain and the ground will be on the soft side at Haydock tomorrow, that shouldn't be a negative for him. If you actually look through his form, he did okay on soft. He finished second on soft ground at York, and I think he finished fourth possibly at Ripon. Can't remember where he was first time out, but when he did run first time out, it was on soft ground and he showed plenty of ability. So Archmoon should be okay. And if you look at his breeding as well, I think he's a son of See the Moon, and on the dam side as well, there's horses that were staying up to 1 mile and 6, so going up to 10 furlongs tomorrow shouldn't be an issue at all. I don't think this is a particularly strong race. Even though there are maybe Logani from Roger Charlton, I just think he's far too keen and I want to be opposing him. And I think Archmoon, you can currently back this horse. I should have said at the beginning, you can still back him at 7-2, and I think that's a fair price there. I think he'll go off and possibly 5-2, 9-4 favourite again like he did last time. I think he's a solid one, and I think if he gets in a good prominent position under Callum Rodriguez, he should have too much class. So that's going to be my next best, wedged in between my Oaks and Derby selections. Now in the Derby, I'm going to be putting up 2 selections here. Now my main choice, in the sense that this is probably my shorter odds one, is going to be Highland Chief for Ben Curtis and Paul Cole. Now you can get 4 places out there at the moment with a few different firms, and I thought Highland Chief at around about a 16-1 chance represented a good bit of value. Now this horse, I was actually at Newbury when he won on debut. I think he was 25-1, and he was Glen Eagles' first winner in the UK. And I remember some people standing next to me saying, he's not going to win, he didn't look any good. But he went and proved them wrong. And even though that was over 5 furlongs that day, he always suggested that he was going to do better going up in trip. He's by Glen Eagles, who didn't get 1.5 miles. But if you look on his downside of the pedigree, there is a little bit more hope for stamina. And the way he won a handicap last time, even though it was a handicap at Ascot, suggested that going up in trip shouldn't be an issue. He made up so much ground in the home straight. He had to pass about probably 8 or 9 horses within 2 furlongs to win the race. And he was finishing like a train. And I think going up in trip isn't going to harm his chances at all. I know the Connections have always thought really highly of this horse. They've rated him to the likes of Berkshire, that was a group winning horse for the Connections in the past, you know. And he's not got a bad draw on still 13, you know. You don't want to be drawn towards the inside. That's where English King and Mogul are. I'll just talk about them now, actually, whilst I'm mentioning them, some of the other candidates before I mention my other Derby selection. So English King, been anti-post favourite for the last couple of weeks after his impressive Lingfield Derby win. I thought he deserved to be favourite on the back of that performance, and it is a shame that Frankie the Tory did get booked on English King instead of Tom Marquand. But sometimes when it's the big occasion, the big man has to be on, and even though Tom Marquand is a brilliant upcoming jockey, I just think he needs maybe a little bit more experience in a race of this nature, and especially as well when you've not won the Derby before and you're the owner. In the case of Bjorn Nielsen, you're going to want a man that's been there, got the t-shirt before, and you've got a good association with, obviously, with them teaming up with Stradivarius. So yeah, I think English King, he's got solid credentials to run a good race tomorrow. He's got high cruising speed, and I expect him to possibly be there in the final furlong, challenging for the victory. But it's just that negative statistic with still one. I just think it's going to be difficult for him, but I think he'll still run a credible race. Mogul is the other one, attracting lots of support for Aidan O'Brien, because Ryan Moore's dropped up. But like I said, Ryan Moore doesn't often make the right call in these races. I'm surprised he didn't maybe pick like Russian Emperor. I was more impressed with him, I have to admit, or maybe even Vatican City. But it seems like a lot of the jockeys that have ridden the horses earlier in the year, the likes of Shamie Heffernan, Padraig Beggy, Emmett McManara, the Irish lads, as they say, they've decided to choose the horses they've already ridden, and they've not decided to go elsewhere. So yeah, Mogul, I was disappointed with his run at Ascot. He probably will come forward because the family normally have shown in the past that with the likes of Sir Isaac Newton and Japan himself, who he's a full brother to, that they always needed the first run. But I think he could be a horse for later down the line, and I would probably want to take on Mogul. I'd like to have seen a bit more. I didn't really see his ability that day, and I think he probably will be the one the money comes for tomorrow, but he wouldn't be on my money. I'll talk about the other Aidan O'Brien selection team in a sec, but I have picked one of those as my long shot tomorrow, which some people already know if you've listened to the podcast. But I will just talk about Kamiko quickly. Kamiko is the solid one, there's no doubt about it. I think even though 2000 Guineas probably wasn't the most strongest on paper and the form is a little bit mixed, I still think Kamiko, you just can never knock him. He's a horse that I think you always want to take him on with, because he's not like flashy, or he's not exuberant. He's not what you call a sexy horse in that regard, that wins and tears up trees by winning races by big margins, but he's just very professional at what he does, and he's got a good attitude. The question for me, the only negative for me is the trip. I can see him running a very similar race to Roaring Lion, who did make the frame, finished third in 2018 for the same connections, obviously in the Qatar racing group, but I just think he'll be there or thereabouts coming into the turn tomorrow, and he'll be on the bridle at one point, but it's just will he find enough to last home, and I just think he might get outstayed. Now, I think Aidan O'Brien holds the key, really. I think you can make cases for many of his runners, but the one I'm going to give a case for, and even though I'm barking mad, and he is 100 to 1 with the 4 places on offer with some firms, is Amhran na Bhfiann, and that's the only time I'm going to say that horse's name, because I've just lost all my Irish following there, because that is the name of the Irish national anthem. Sorry for my Irish pronunciation, but this is Aidan O'Brien and Will Buick teaming up here. Now, obviously, Will Buick is a terrific jockey in his own right, won this race back in 2018 with Massar, so he knows how to win. But I just think on pedigree and what this horse could be capable of later on down the line, it might not be tomorrow, but he could definitely run a massive race, and I think he should be more of a 33 to 1, 28 to 1 shot, in my opinion. He's actually a full brother to Woz, who is his sister, who won the Epsom Oaks a few years ago for the same connection. So obviously the pedigree is there, that they handle the track well and the distance. And his form when he finished 4th at Leopardstown, I think that was a very, very, very good maiden. The second place horse was, or the horse that won that race, was Tiger Moth, and he finished second behind Santiago in the Irish Derby. We put up Order of Australia with 4 places at 50 to 1 each week for the Irish Derby, and we were rewarded with a placed effort. He finished in 4th place at 50 to 1, and he again heightened the form to somewhat of a degree. And if you go through some of the other runners in the race, through some of the smaller Irish trainers, but there's also as well the likes of Joseph O'Brien and I think Jessica Harrington, possibly, I can't remember the name of the other trainers that have had runners in this race, but they've gone and sent their horses into other maidens and other novice races, and they've actually run all right against some really nice types. So I think it was a really warm race, and the pedigree suggests that he's going to improve. He was always going to be a 3-year-old, he wasn't a 2-year-old, and he's going to be an improver. And Aidan O'Brien's horses, like we always say, they always improve for their first run. They very rarely win first time out, and if you're looking at 100 to 1 shot, this could just have Wings of Eagles written all over it, an absolute shock, an absolute outsider. And at 100 to 1, I've never put a horse at that price up before, and I know some of you think I'm bonkers and mad, but my point being that this is such an open derby. I'm excited about it because it's there for someone to go and grab it by the horns and take advantage of this division. But I just think you can't dismiss any of them. Even though, like I've said, I have said Mogul I'm not keen on, but if you want to back him, go and back him. You know, I can't really put you off him in the sense that if you think he's going to win, go and back him. But he's just not for me. He just doesn't appeal to me. Russian Emperor, I'm not sure about his head carriage. I was interested for him at the time, but just having watched some of his racing, I'm just wondering maybe that might just destroy his chances tomorrow. So Russian Emperor I'm against. Vatican City is the one that people are saying about, a lot of the Shrewdies, but I don't think he actually wants to go up in trip. I was actually looking at a lot of his pedigree, and actually a lot of them are sprinters on the damn side, so that would be concerning, even though he did fly home in the Irish 2000 Guineas. And I actually don't think the Irish 2000 Guineas was actually a great contest. I think it was a weak Irish 2000 Guineas by normal standards, and I think the Irish 1000 Guineas was actually the best race that there was. So that's just my opinion. But yeah, the Irish 2000 Guineas, I just think Siskin, I think he'll get found out later on in the season, and he will become a beaten animal. I think he'll find it tough against the likes of Palace Pier if they do clash later on in the season, because Palace Pier is going to be the #1 mile and a quarter horse later on in the season. I can just see it. I think he is an extraordinarily talented animal. But yeah, for me, I just think that Vatican City, I just think he won't stay the trip. That's my opinion. But you can make cases for all the runners in here, and whatever you fancy, I won't put you off. Just have a bet, have a small bet if you're going to take a big price horse. But like I said, this Amhran Bhfiann, I just said I wouldn't say his name again, but I did. But I just think 100-1. I'm willing to take a chance that he could maybe even finish in the first four. You know, I could see him being in contention inside the last furlong. You know, I don't think he'll be a pacemaker, because I just think Will Björk will think, no, I've got a chance in the Derby. Why do I want to be a pacemaker? You know, he wants to win the Derby. You know, he's going to try his best, and I just think with this horse's pedigree and the natural improvement, he could run a blinder, and that's why I'm going to put him up as my long shot. So that's going to be my thoughts for the Epsom Derby, and also as well Highland Chief as my other selection, but that's going to count as just Loads' extra tip. We're going to end with one more extra tip, which runs in the Yarmouth 520, my last tip of the day, horse called Voy. If you've been following me for the last few years, you know Voy is an old favourite of mine on the channel for Holly Doyle and Conrad Allen. I actually put her up, I think it was last year when she won at Yarmouth, and she had William Carver aboard that day. It was like claiming £5 or £7, but she's now back down to her last mark of 68, and I think that looks a fair mark. And she showed a bit of form last time out when she plugged on to finish third at Windsor, and I just think that this isn't a particularly strong race, and she's proven herself in better company. The quick ground is key to her, and she likes to be held up off a strong pace. There are a few front runners in here tomorrow, so if she sits out the back, I think Holly Doyle, who's riding the crest of the wave at the moment, she had 4 winners the other night, didn't she, at Wolverhampton, you know. She's got a few good chances at Yarmouth tomorrow, and I think Voy will be one of them. And you can currently back this horse at the current time of recording at 10-3, and I'm just going to recommend a win-only bet. So there, my picks for tomorrow's horse racing action. So just quickly go through it. Loads Extra kicks off in the 12:30 at Haydock with Royal Context 4-1 win for Michael Dodds. In the Oaks, I've gone with my lay of the day with Love. Currently lay it for 2.4 on the Betfair exchange, and my nap is going to be Frankly Darling to back only win at 2-1. We then go with another extra tip in the 4:25 at Haydock with Archmoon. Currently, you can back it at 7-2, so that's actually my next bet, I should have said. So yeah, 7-2 for Archmoon, win only bet. We then go my extra tip. This is probably my #1 choice for the Derby, but like I said, you can make cases for so many. Highland Chief at 16-1 each way with 4 places, and the outsider, the long shot, I'm going to take a chance on Amhran Bhfiann for the 4 places at 100-1 each way. Yep, you heard it, 100-1. And then we end at Yarmouth with Voy at 10-3, and hopefully she can give us a winner in our last race of the day. So yep, they're the tips for tomorrow's racing action. So if you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe here to my YouTube channel for more videos. I upload videos pretty much every day, so make sure you follow me by subscribing to my YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Twitter as well, where my handle is @LuckyLoaders15. Also as well, check out that Telegram page if you're interested in that. Just click the link below and it'll take you through to it. And if you want to find out a little bit more about myself and a full portfolio of my work, you can go to my website, which is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. Please gamble responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.